coming up on The World Today. EU regulator says it is firmly convinced that benefits of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine outweigh the risks. Britain's Prince Philip leaves the hospital after a month. Plus, aid agency Save the Children says Islamist militants are beheading children in Mozambique's northern province of Cabo Delgado. A warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. Thanks for joining us. I'm Akaite Afia in Lagos. We are still following concerns surrounding the use of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine as more countries join the list. Now the EU's medicine regulator says it is standing by its decision to approve the vaccine and that it remains firmly convinced that the benefits outweigh the risks. It reiterates that there is no indication the vaccine causes blood clots after several leading EU states paused their rollouts. An investigation into cases of clots in a handful of recipients is currently ongoing. Here's more on this and other developments on our COVID-19 Global Update.
Global health experts are under increasing pressure to clear up questions for the safety of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 shot, as Sweden and Latvia join countries suspending their use in a further blow to Europe's vaccination rollout. A World Health Organization committee of experts is reviewing isolated cases of bleeding and blood clots in people vaccinated and is in dialogue with the European Medicines Agency. The European Union's largest members, Germany, France and Italy, suspended the use of AstraZeneca's vaccines on Monday, pending the outcome of an investigation into the reports. Despite concerns over safety, Thailand has launched an inoculation campaign with AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine, with Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha first in line. He says he took the jab to boost confidence for the general public following safety concerns. Thailand had initially temporarily suspended the use of AstraZeneca vaccine on Friday. Australia also says it has no plans to halt the use of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine.
Good afternoon. Here in Australia, safety is our first priority, and in any large vaccine rollout we do expect to see unusual events, and we monitor very closely and carefully for those. But this does not mean that an event that happens after vaccination has been given is indeed due to that vaccine. So we do always take it seriously, we do investigate, but in this situation I can absolutely say that I remain confident in the AstraZeneca vaccine, that it's safe, and that there is at this point no evidence that it causes blood clots. No evidence that it causes blood clots.
In other developments, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has received his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine in preparation for a meeting with the US President Joe Biden next month. And finally, the drug company Moderna has begun a study that will test its COVID vaccine in children under 12, including babies as young as 6 months. The study will assess the safety and effectiveness of 2 doses given 28 days apart, and intends to enroll about 6,750 children in the United States and Canada.
In the meantime, global health experts are coming under increasing pressure to clear up questions regarding the safety of the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine. One of them, Dr. Giles O'Brien-Tier, says he believes herd mentality could be the reason why more countries are suspending its use. He is worried, though, that politics may be behind their decisions as opposed to scientific reasons.
What we're seeing is a bit of a herd effect across the European nations, a herd effect. I wouldn't want to call it panic, but one country said, "Oh, we've got some side effects in Norway. Are they or are they not related to the vaccine?" And then other countries have said, "Oh, we better take action." So I come back to my point. This is an area which has to be dealt with by people expert in assessing these types of data. And there has to be high trust between the politician, the scientists, and the medics who are involved in assessing these issues.
Joining us now to discuss the developments is virologist and molecular biologist at Nasarawa State University, Dr. Akiala Ishaku. He joins us now from Lafia, Nasarawa State. Dr. Ishaku, thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me, Etsai.
So tell us, do you agree that herd mentality is leading European nations to pause their vaccine rollout?
Absolutely, herd mentality has a great role to play when it comes to international public health. This is because you have to look at the politics behind international health. It plays a key role now in the inoculation of the COVID-19 vaccine campaign in Europe. Science has it that the vaccines are safe, and then for obvious reasons, a lot of vaccines have shared side effect and adverse drug reaction. So COVID-19 vaccine is not an exception. And I think that the member community of the European nation, what they need to do is to actually encourage and promote the uptake of COVID-19 vaccines, despite there are adverse drug reactions and effects from the vaccines, which are actually called the blood clotting. So in my shared opinion, I strongly believe that the herd mentality, which has to do with international health politics, plays a major role in the COVID-19 vaccine administration.
Well, we've heard of about 37 cases developing blood clots in Europe after the AstraZeneca vaccine was administered. Now, even countries such as the DRC and Uganda have suspended the use of the vaccine out of an abundance of caution. So what are your thoughts on the actions that the rest of the continent should take in light of these developments?
Yeah, so my opinion here is that we need to do a lot of studies in Africa to actually know reasons why we are not developing blood clotting. I'm a member of my state team, the adverse drug reaction team, and we have not reported any case of blood clotting. And I think all over the country, Nigeria, we have not reported any case. But be that as it may be, we have also opened windows for research. So I encourage members, countries within the continent to actually do research. Most likely, we might be able to see that there will be a success of this vaccine in African continent. That does not limit us, that we should not open our minds open and then do a lot of research. So what I expected the NAFDAC to be doing is to open a platform quickly for people to, at the comfort of their homes, be able to report adverse drug reaction and side effects as a result of COVID-19 vaccines administration. This is quite key because still up to now, we have not gotten a platform for us to report most of these adverse. So it opens a window for research, and we can do a lot of research around that and then begin to build up narratives in that consideration.
Well, you spoke a little bit about research there, so I want to ask you, do you think it will make a difference if African researchers and scientists do develop vaccines for the continent?
Absolutely. So there are consortium for African vaccine initiative, and I strongly believe that we'll need to actually look inward for local content development. We cannot be able to be having infectious diseases in Africa, and then most of the vaccines are developed in Europe and South Asia. It is time for us to look inward. God has blessed Africa with a lot of human resources. These resources need to be tapped. About 5 leading scientists that are at the forefront of COVID-19 vaccines are from Africa. 3 of them are from Nigeria, 1 from Yale University and the other one from Harvard and even Oxford University. It is time for us to actually, particularly in Nigeria, I'm advocating that we should have a presidential welcome back home of our top scientists that are all over the world. Create an enabling environment for them to do knowledge transfer, and so that we can be able to build capacity in-house and begin to develop local content development. We have the expertise. Nigeria in the 1958, 1959, 1960, we have been developing yellow fever vaccine, and we have been supplying the whole West Africa with yellow fever vaccine. We missed that in 1991. It is time for us to look inward and build capacity. Nigeria is blessed with a lot of vaccinologists and virologists across our teaching tertiary health institutions and our university. So it is time for us to create a platform for them and see to how they can bring their expertise to bear. So developing a vaccine is not a rocket science. It is how we create a platform and enabling environment for these scientists to come back home and actually cross-fertilize their ideas with scientists that are back home. So I strongly share that opinion that it is time for us to look inward and develop our content locally.
And Dr. Ishaku, just one more question before I let you go here. Even without this issue, people were already skeptical about taking the vaccine. So how do we continue to assure people that being vaccinated is one of the surest ways to prevent the virus?
Actually, we just need to do a robust stakeholder engagement, collaboration, and systemic communication. Just like what Channels TV is doing now, that is what we are supposed to do. We are actually supposed to do massive health advocacy to tell the people the importance of taking these vaccines. The vaccines are safe and they are highly efficacious. So what we just need to do is to do a lot of mass mobilization and community advocacy. We must be able to do that by bringing stakeholders into this advocacy so that we can be able to achieve the desired goals. So a robust systemic communication with stakeholders, collaboration, and linkages.
All right. Well, Doctor, thank you so much again for joining us today and for giving us your time. Do stay safe.
Thank you for having me.
Also, adding its voice to the issue is the World Health Organization, which is calling on countries to be exceptionally careful regarding vaccination certification, as vaccines are still inequitably accessible in the world. Governments and developers around the world are exploring the potential use of vaccine passports as a way of reopening the economy by identifying those protected against the coronavirus. In another vein, the EU is preparing to present its Digital Green Pass proposal on Wednesday. This Digital Green Pass, a document that would provide proof that a person has been vaccinated against COVID-19, as well as details of any coronavirus test, aiming to recover mobility among Schengen countries.
With regard to what a certification of vaccination can allow you to do, that is at national level or international level, and the use of a certification of vaccination which allows you to travel or allows you to carry out certain activities like attend a restaurant or go to school or attend university. We have to be exceptionally careful, because right now we're dealing with a tremendously inequitous situation in the world, where the likelihood of you being offered or getting a vaccine is very much to do with the country you live in, very much to do with the level of wealth, the level of influence that you or your government has on global markets. And therefore the Emergency Committee of WHO have made it clear in their recommendations to the Director General that at this time, at the present time, the requirement for certification of vaccination as a requirement for international travel is not justified, as vaccination is not widely enough available and is inequitably distributed throughout the world.
Well, let's turn to the United Kingdom, where good news, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, is reportedly in good spirits after leaving the hospital following a successful heart procedure. The 99-year-old has been in the King Edward VII Hospital since February 16th after feeling unwell. He later underwent a successful procedure for a pre-existing heart condition at another London hospital, St. Bartholomew's. The Duke returned to Windsor Castle after the 28-night stay, his longest ever in the hospital. Earlier today, Buckingham Palace released a statement saying the Duke was discharged, quote, following treatment for an infection and a successful procedure for a pre-existing condition. In other developments in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the country's foreign and defense policy priorities show how it will relearn the art of competing against states with opposing values. He was unveiling the government's so-called integrated review in Parliament today. Mr. Johnson said in the wake of Britain's departure from the European Union, the government wants to strengthen ties with countries in the Indo-Pacific region. Over the next 4 years, the government plans for Britain to also invest at least £6.6 billion of defense funding in advanced and next-generation research and development in areas including space, directed energy weapons, and advanced high-speed missiles. Still ahead on The World Today. A new Dead Sea Scroll puzzle piece discovered after 60 years. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Children's charity Save the Children has reported Islamist militants are beheading children as young as 11 in Mozambique's northern province of Cabo Delgado. More than 2,500 people have been killed and 700,000 have fled their homes since an Islamist insurgency began in 2017. One mother, whose name was withheld to protect her identity, said her eldest child had been beheaded near where she and her other children were hiding. The insurgents are known locally as Al-Shabaab, which means the youth in Arabic. This reflects that it receives its support mostly from young, unemployed people in the predominantly Muslim region of Cabo Delgado. At least 149 people have died since anti-coup protests have begun taking place in Myanmar. While the world watches, the United Nations says the country's security forces have been using live ammunition against the protesters and bystanders. Myanmar's neighbors and the international community have called on the military junta to stop using force on civilians, but the crackdown has gone unabated. Now the UN is adding its voice, stop killing and detaining protesters, it says.
We have, however, managed to confirm that at least 149 people have been arbitrarily deprived of their lives since the 1st of February as a result of the unlawful use of lethal force against peaceful protesters in Myanmar. Of these, at least 11 were killed yesterday on Monday and 57 over the weekend. There are many more reports of further killings that we have not been able to corroborate yet.
Staying in Asia, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Japan, where he has sent out a message to China, warning the country against using coercion and aggression. China's extensive territorial claims in the East and South China Seas have become a priority issue in an increasingly testy Sino-U.S. relationship and are an important security concern for Japan. Mr. Blinken says the United States will push back and that Washington is considering whether additional pressure could be effective on North Korea as a part of its ongoing review policy in the region.
We're united in the vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific region, where countries follow the rules, cooperate whenever they can, and resolve their differences peacefully. And in particular, we will push back if necessary when China uses coercion or aggression to get its way.
I know Japan shares our concerns with China's destabilizing actions. And as I have said before, China is a pacing challenge for the Department of Defense. And we know that competing in today's shifting global dynamics can only be done through the spirit of teamwork and cooperation, which are the hallmarks of our alliance with Japan.
Speaking of North Korea, leaders may not be speaking to U.S. authorities, but they have a few words against the United States. Sister of leader Kim Jong-un, Kim Yo-jong, today criticized ongoing military drills in South Korea, warning the Biden administration against causing a stink if it wants peace. Her statement comes a day before U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are due to arrive in Seoul for their first talks with their counterparts. Blinken is making an Asia tour this week for foreign policy and security talks with allies Japan and South Korea, among others. South Korean and U.S. troops began a joint springtime military drill last week, which was limited to computer simulations because of the coronavirus risk, as well as the ongoing efforts to engage with the North, which has so far rebuffed entreaties from the U.S. to engage in dialogue. As the warmer months began in the U.S., the Mexico and U.S. border is experiencing an increase of migrants, hoping that the new administration will grant them asylum in the U.S. Our Washington correspondent, Maria Bird, has more.
U.S. President Joe Biden is being criticized by many Republicans on his management of the migrant crises at the U.S.-Mexico border.
The security of our nation and our border is first and foremost the responsibility of our president. I came down here because I heard of the crisis. It's more than a crisis. This is a human heartbreak. The sad part about all of this, it didn't have to happen. This crisis is created by the presidential policies of this new administration. There's no other way to claim it than a Biden border crisis.
While many Republicans are frustrated with the changes President Biden's early executive orders did to relax the immigration policies, President Biden and his administration believe that increased capacity for processing immigrants and the expansion of shelters for children will begin to address the issue.
Big issues here are expediting what's happening at the border. None of these Border Patrol facilities are made for children, and we want to move them as quickly as possible into shelters and then into homes. FEMA, this was an announcement over the weekend, is now providing support at the border, adding extra capacity to HHS for quick processing to avoid overcrowding. We rescinded the 2018 MOU between DHS and HHS, which we believe will encourage families and sponsors to come forward without fear of additional immigration enforcement. And we've seen this as an issue where family members or even sponsor families are worried that this will mean they will be tracked, and this rescinds that. We're also looking for additional facilities, and this remains a focus.
While former President Donald Trump's border wall angered many Americans, advocacy organizations and even some Democrats are beginning to question President Biden's ability to ensure security and safety at the border. From Washington, Maria Bird, Channel Television News.
We end the program in Israel, where the country's archaeologists, who have been racing against antiquities robbers to find treasures hidden in caves near the Dead Sea, have discovered a trove of artifacts, including fragments of a biblical text, the likes of which haven't been seen for decades. The Israel Antiquities Authority, which has overseen an unprecedented survey of an 80-kilometer strip of cliffside desert caves, presented on Tuesday findings that also include ancient coins, a 6,000-year-old partially mummified skeleton of a child, and an intact weaved basket dating back 10,500 years that is said to likely be the oldest in the world. The text fragments, about 2,000 years old, bear biblical verse and match a scroll discovered about 60 years ago, which was the last time a discovery of this kind was made in the area. It is a new piece of a compilation of manuscripts and fragments of ancient Jewish text called the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were first found in 1947 by local Bedouin in the caves of Qumran, about 20 kilometers east of Jerusalem.
So these are new pieces of the puzzle, and we can add them to our greater picture of the period and of the text. And even though these pieces are small, they did give us some new information that we did not know before. For the first time in over 60 years, we have fragments of a biblical book that were discovered in an archaeological excavation. It's important also because this is the first time when such fragments are found in an excavation and brought straight here to our laboratory, which meant that we have better documentation of their condition.
Well, that is all we have for the program today. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Akaite Afia. Have a great evening and stay safe.